Oye, mira, what's going on, everybody? My name is Christian Ortiz, the developer of Justice AI, and this is Decoding Bias. One of the greatest things about doing a series like this is that I get to share with you the daily tests that I perform for Justice AI. Today I'm going to test its capabilities to see how it understands geopolitical issues and proxy wars, especially pertaining to the US. Recently, I stumbled upon a video, an interview of Andrew Bustamante. If that name sounds familiar or it doesn't, he's a former CIA covert operative and a very well-decorated military veteran. And this is what he had to say about World War III and proxy wars. Take a listen.
So, are we having a World War III?
There's a long answer and a short answer. I'll start with the short answer. The short answer is yes. I believe we are in the middle of World War III right now.
Already in the middle.
Already in the middle. I think what people don't recognize, to go to the long answer, is that war evolves. War changes. Just like a virus, just like any one of us, right? At 35, you're not the same person you were at 25, and you're not the same person that you're going to be at 55. What happens is people think World War III is going to look like World War II. I don't know why people think that.
The generals fight the last war.
But they think that. But World War II didn't look like World War I. Vietnam didn't look like World War II. The Gulf War, the War on Terror, didn't look anything like the Vietnam War, right? So why do we keep thinking that World War III is going to look like bombers and tanks and nuclear weapons? That's not what World War III is going to look like. World War III is a war doctrinally, meaning what's taught in the Army war schools and the Air Force war schools, not just in the United States, but across all the first world countries. World War III is a war of what's called proxy war. Proxy war is when rich countries fund conflicts in small countries, also known as inter-state war, intra-state war, rather than inter-state war. Inter-state means two independent states invade and fight with each other. The closest thing we have to that right now is Russia and Ukraine.
But wouldn't that be the textbook definition of a proxy war?
It's not a textbook definition because it's a blend of the two.
Okay.
Syria is a textbook definition, right? Internal conflict led to a civil war that was funded by outside partners. The United States funded one side, Russia funded the other side, right? Textbook. Libya, textbook.
Got it. So because the U.S. is using Ukraine as a proxy, but with Russia.
And Russia did physically invade across the border, right? So it's a hybrid. But you're exactly right. Like what we're seeing is that starting with the war in Afghanistan, we started to leave the world of interstate war, where we invaded Afghanistan, and we started to go into a world of proxy conflict. Yemen was a proxy conflict. Syria was a proxy conflict. Libya was a proxy conflict. And we continue to keep seeing them happen. And that's just the United States. When you look at China, when you look at Russia, when you look at Turkey, when you look at Saudi Arabia, there are even more. There are many, many more conflict zones. There's 112 conflict zones in the world right now, all being funded by external countries that are funding a conflict in a third world country against a competitor to their country. Just like we're funding Ukraine, Russia and China are funding Russia, right? Like you look at Israel right now. Israel's struggling because the conflict was a very convenient proxy conflict against Iran, because Iran was funding Hezbollah, the United States was supporting Israel, but now it's gone out of control. And now it's starting to mutate into something different, right? With Benny Gantz leaving the war cabinet, you're even seeing Israel itself divided over how it's going to handle itself in Gaza. So we have this evolution, this transformation of the battlefield that will become the next version of the doctrine that we teach to our military generals of tomorrow. So I argue that World War III is already happening. World War III is a war of proxy conflict, and that proxy conflict is how rich countries can tell their populations, we're not at war. And what is Biden telling us every day? We're not at war. We're not going to war. We're not in a conflict. To hell, honestly, of course we are. We are sending our weapons, our surplus to Ukraine. We are sending our advisors to Europe. we are sending our special operations to Asia to train on the shores of Indonesia and Thailand within striking distance of China. Of course, we are 100% in the middle of a global war of power and influence. Just because American soldiers aren't dying yet doesn't mean that they're not going to die as soon as China makes a move on Taiwan and the United States decides to send a friggin' naval cruiser through the Taiwan Straits. We're dangerously close to being part of a hot conflict again because our government is sending a narrative that is not true, right? We are absolutely in a conflict right now. It's just a global macroeconomic conflict that can very easily be traced to physical conflict if you understand the concept of proxies.
Now, the information that Andrew has shared on this podcast is extremely important. But what happens if you're a viewer and you stumble upon this video and you just don't know what to believe, but you do have access to Justice AI and you want to fact check it? Well, let's put it to the test. I'm going to take this entire transcript of this clip and input it into Justice AI. The goal is to analyze the transcript, to fact check it, and to give me some next steps of what I can do with this information that I've just learned. Let's take a look.
Analysis of the interview. Are we in World War III? Introduction. In this interview, the speaker suggests that World War III is already happening, but it looks very different from the world wars we know from history. Instead of direct military confrontation, this war is characterized by proxy conflicts, where powerful nations support and fund wars in other countries to gain strategic advantages. Let's break down the key points and fact-check them to understand the current geopolitical status. Main points in fact-checking. 1. Claim, we are in the middle of World War III. Analysis. This statement is provocative, but not entirely unfounded. While there isn't a global conflict on the scale of the world wars, many interconnected regional conflicts involve major powers indirectly, resembling a form of global conflict. 2. Evolution of warfare. Claim, war evolves, and each conflict is different from the last. This is accurate. Historical evidence shows that each major conflict has its own unique characteristics. For instance, World War II differed significantly from World War I, and subsequent wars like Vietnam and the Gulf War introduced new strategies and technologies. 3. Nature of World War III. Claim, World War III is characterized by proxy wars rather than direct state-to-state conflicts. This is largely true. Current global conflicts often involve major powers supporting different factions in other countries, such as in Syria, Yemen, and Libya. These proxy wars are a strategic way for powerful countries to exert influence without direct confrontation. 4. Specific conflicts. Claim the Russia-Ukraine conflict is a hybrid of direct invasion and proxy war. Correct. Russia's direct military actions in Ukraine, coupled with significant international involvement, e.g., NATO support for Ukraine, create a complex conflict scenario blending direct and proxy elements. Claim, the U.S. and other countries are involved in many proxy conflicts around the world. Fact check. Accurate. Countries like the U.S., Russia, China, and others have been known to support various sides in numerous conflicts globally, often through financial aid, military equipment, and strategic advisors. 5. Global military posture. Claim the U.S. and other first world countries are heavily involved in global conflicts through military advisors, special operations, and weapons supplies. Fact check. True. The U.S. and its allies have significant military involvement around the world, reflecting a strategic approach to maintaining global influence and countering rivals. Decolonized perspective. 1. Impact on marginalized communities. Analysis. Proxy wars often devastate developing countries, causing immense suffering and displacement. The interests of powerful nations overshadow the lives and experiences of local populations. It's crucial to center these communities in our understanding of these conflicts. 2. Historical and systemic factors. Analysis. Many current conflicts have roots in colonial histories and systemic injustices. For example, the arbitrary borders and divisions created by colonial powers have left lasting impacts on regions like the Middle East, leading to ongoing strife. 3. Role of international bodies. Analysis. International organizations often struggle to mediate these conflicts due to the complex interplay of national interests. A more inclusive approach that respects the sovereignty and voices of affected regions is needed for effective conflict resolution. Conclusion. The interview's assertion that World War III is already happening, characterized by proxy wars, holds substantial truth when considering the current geopolitical landscape. While the term World War III might be hyperbolic, the widespread and interconnected nature of these conflicts suggests a significant period of global tension and indirect warfare. Call to action. For more insightful analyses and to stay updated on global issues, like and subscribe to Mod Atlas Media on YouTube.
This is an amazing example of how we can use Justice AI to not only educate ourselves on global matters, global issues, political issues, but also fact check all the different types of information that you find out there on the internet today. I want you to write down topics in the comment section that you have questioned or that you want to know more about. This way I can make videos and post them and even tag you and connect with you to show you what Justice AI can put out. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Christian Ortiz. Until next time, take care of yourself. Cuídate.